Hello everyone. I've been asked to share a few thoughts about the first 5 verses of John chapter 2. It's the start of a story which I'm sure we all know very well. I'll just read it out. On the 3rd day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, I can just picture the scene. Jesus and his mum went to the wedding. It says his disciples were there. I think at this stage he probably hadn't recruited all of them, so there were probably only a few disciples. And then his mum said to him, "What, they've run out of wine?" Now that would be a pretty big, serious thing at a wedding in those days, because that was all you had to drink. You couldn't drink the water. So, and then Jesus said, "Mother, not now. It's nothing to do with me. What do you expect me to do about it?" You can just imagine him saying that, can't you? And he says, "My hour has not yet come." Now I'm not sure why he said that. I'm guessing he felt that, well, actually he wasn't quite certain if he was supposed to be starting his ministry yet. He was probably waiting for the say-so from his father, I guess, from God. But his mum then said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, that's quite an odd thing to say. I mean, you could imagine Jesus then saying, "Mum, I told you I wasn't going to do anything yet." And yet, she told the servants that anyway, do whatever he tells you. Now, to my mind, that's showing quite a huge amount of faith. Faith in what Jesus was able to do, and faith in what he would be willing to do. I mean, he hadn't started doing miracles or teaching as such yet. Whether she'd seen him do anything like that at home, I don't know, but she had this fundamental belief that he was going to sort the problem out. And I believe it was that faith which triggered a release of God's power. Now, clearly, we all know what happened after that. Indeed, it did trigger release of God's power, because Jesus then went on to, to supply wine filled from the water jars. But of course, this sort of thing has happened other times in Scripture as well. This someone's faith triggering a release of God's power. And so I've sort of thought of this little, these few thoughts now as having a theme of the power of faith, because I think faith probably has more power than we realise. Another famous story in Scripture is when Jesus came to the disciples walking across the lake. And then Peter said to Jesus, "Well, okay, if it's you, let me come and walk on the water as well and come and join you." And so Jesus says, "Come on then." So Peter steps out the boat and merrily starts walking on the water, because to start with he had this unerring faith that he would be able to. He didn't doubt at that moment that he'd be able to, so he did. His faith was releasing the power of God to enable him to walk on the water. And then what happened? He looked down, thought, "Oh blimey, the sea's a bit choppy. What's holding me up?" And he started doubting, and then he started sinking. Now, I don't think I'm fairly certain it was the fact that his faith was wavering that somehow cut off the supply of the power that was holding him up. I don't think it was Jesus saying, "Oh, you're starting to lose faith, are you? Right, I'll let you sink then." I mean, Jesus wouldn't say that, would he? I think it was the actual, the faith, his lack of faith at that point was cutting off the power that would have kept him up. A bit scary, really, isn't it? Other stories. The lady with the internal bleeding. who touched the edge of Jesus' cloak, believing it would make her well. That amazing amount of faith she was showing triggered off a release of God's power to heal her. And I don't think Jesus was expecting that to happen. I think he was as surprised as anyone that it had happened, and judging by his reaction. And he said to her, "Take heart, daughter, your faith has healed you." He didn't say, "Because you've got lots of faith, I've decided to heal you." He actually said, "Your faith has healed you." And I think we're meant to take that sort of literally, really. There was a blind beggar who Jesus healed. And he said to the beggar, "Your faith has healed you." And he said that in Matthew 17, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to here," and it will. Now, I'm not sure we're meant to take that literally, because hopefully, I'm not expecting to see Beast and Hump moving around anytime soon. But Jesus was stressing the importance of faith and the power of faith. And then, of course, when Jesus went back to Nazareth in Mark 6, and the people there said, "He's just a carpenter's son from down the road. We're not going to take any notice of what he says." And the scripture says he could do no miracles there apart from healing a few sick people. He was amazed at their lack of faith, because it was their lack of faith which stopped the power of God from coming through him to heal those people. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of power in faith. Faith is the trigger of the release of, or can be the trigger for the release of God's power. Scary, isn't it? Goodbye.